Good afternoon. I'm Misty Snodgrass. I'm Director of Government Relations for the American Cancer Society and the spokesperson for the Show Me a Brighter Future campaign, the campaign to pass Prop B here in the state of Missouri. Thank you so much for joining us. We're really excited to be here in Jeff City. This is our final stop on the bus tour. We've been going for 2 weeks now, canvassing all across the state, over 20 cities in all. We are joined today by parents, public school representatives, higher education representatives, business and community leaders who are united in their support for Proposition B. Missouri has the lowest tobacco tax in the country at 17 cents per pack, and this directly relates to our poor health outcomes and high smoking rates, especially among youth. Proposition B would raise the tax on all tobacco products and generate $283 million per year. 20% of that revenue will directly go towards smoking cessation programs to help Missourians who want to quit smoking do so, and to help our kids from ever starting. 50% of the new revenue will go towards local public schools and every school district in the state of Missouri. There are safeguards in place to ensure that the money will go where the voters intend. 30% of the new revenue will go towards higher education for training of the future workforce of tomorrow and train future caregivers. The tobacco industry and their allies have been in control for way too long. Total tobacco tax receipts each year total $95 million, while the Medicaid cost associated with tobacco illness and disease is $532 million per year. Far too long, the legislature has been forced to raise school budgets to pay for these growing costs. We're joined today by a number of Missourians from all across the state who are excited to talk about why they support Prop B. Roger?
Thank you, Misty. My name is Roger Kurtz, and I'm the Executive Director of the Missouri Association of School Administrators. I'm here today because Proposition B is so very important to the future of our children and our schools. And I don't have to tell anybody here the challenges that school districts across the state are facing with each new budget year. We've seen significant cuts in transportation funding, career ladder, parents as teachers, and many other programs over the years. And there's been extreme stress on school districts as in regards to finances, with many of the schools having to cut staff and increase class sizes. The revenue projections for this proposal are very exciting for school districts across the state, and it will definitely make a difference. Our children's health and education must be a priority, and our association has gone on record in support for this proposal, and we urge all Missourians to vote yes on Prop B. I'd now like to invite Joy Sweeney to talk with you a little bit about the impact here in Jefferson City.
Thank you, Roger. My name is Joy Sweeney, and I'm here today as President of the Jefferson City School Board and representative of Missouri School Boards Association. Funding education must be a priority in Missouri, and Proposition B is an important step in the right direction. I'm very excited because Jefferson City, the new revenues that this school district would potentially receive from Proposition B are approximately $1.3 million annually. As a parent and a member of the PTA, I can tell you that budget challenges, growing classroom sizes, and fewer teachers are all impacting our children's learning environments. And as the Executive Director for the Council for Drug-Free Youth, it's important to mention that Missouri has an alarmingly high rates of kids that smoke. 8,600 Missouri kids become daily smokers every single year. And Proposition B will give us new resources to make sure that our children don't become addicted smokers. Proposition B will provide 20% of new revenue to smoking cessation programs to help smokers that want to quit and to keep our kids from ever starting. Further, studies show that the increase in the price of tobacco products has a significant impact on the percentage of children that actually smoke. The higher the cost, the fewer number of kids who will start smoking. I have to urge you to vote yes for Proposition B to keep Missouri kids from becoming lifelong smokers and supporting education. I'm very honored to invite Norm Siegel from the Healthcare Foundation of Greater Kansas City to share his thoughts with you today.
Thank you, Joy. As Joy mentioned, I'm here on behalf of the Healthcare Foundation of Greater Kansas City, where we are dedicated to the health and welfare of the citizens of this state. One of the harsh realities about having the lowest tobacco tax in the country is that you have really unbelievable statistics that reflect very poorly on our state with respect to certain health guidelines. We know that tobacco causes 1 in 5, 20% of all deaths in Missouri. Missouri has the 11th highest smoking rate in the nation. Missouri also has the 8th highest death rate from lung cancer in the nation. And think about this statistic. This one grabbed me. Tobacco kills 10,000 Missourians a year. That is 1 Missourian every hour, actually a little more than that. A phenomenal statistic that, unfortunately, a low tobacco tax has helped feed these numbers. One of the ways we know we can reduce those numbers is to raise the tax. It's been proven across the country, and we intend to prove it here. And one of the reasons we know that Proposition B is good for the state is we have support from people across different parties across the state from different demographic areas. It's a win-win-win for the state of Missouri. And to put a little finer point on that, I'd like to introduce my good friend and colleague, Warren Erdman. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Norma. My name is Warren Erdman, and I'm here today as a citizen of Missouri and as a member of the University of Missouri Board of Curators. I want to talk a minute about higher education. Higher education in Missouri has been dealing with the same challenges that our public schools have in recent years. We are very encouraged by this opportunity to support higher education in Missouri and train the badly needed healthcare providers that our state will need in a very few years. With Missouri's aging population, it's important that we focus on increasing the number of physicians and caregivers that our aging population will need. With passage of Proposition B, the University of Missouri has committed to growing its medical school presence and to provide for other professionally trained healthcare givers to meet these needs. With it, we can create a clinical classroom program in Southwest Missouri in Springfield to place more doctors in urgently needed rural communities. I also want to reinforce to you that Proposition B, contrary to what some have suggested, has several safeguards designed to ensure that this badly needed new revenue will be spent as it's intended by the voters to be spent. These safeguards include specifically allocating the money for public education and public health, for keeping the money from this tax separate from other general revenue in a trust fund that is specifically accounted for, by making clear that this is to be new money and not a substitute for previous general revenue commitments. Another provision makes clear that Prop B is to be treated as a new funding source and not as a substitute for existing funding sources. And all of the funds under this measure are subject to annual audits. Anybody who suggests that we will not be able to make sure this money is spent in the manner that the voters approve it simply doesn't understand these important provisions of Proposition B. So despite what our opposition might like you to believe, Proposition B was written with this very concern in mind, and we will make sure that it's spent the way the voters intended to be spent. Proposition B is the most important issue Missourians will decide this year. We have the lowest in the nation tobacco tax, by far, which encourages high rates of smoking, and as a result, high rates of state spending on tobacco-related illness. And that limits our ability to support our schools, our universities, and public health. We have to fix this, and now's the time to do it. Now I want to call forward someone who is fresh off of a 23-city visit, 23-city tour in my mind, a rock star, and clearly a Missouri hero, Misty Snodgrass.
Thank you so much, Warren. As you can see, this proposition is a win-win. It provides much needed revenue towards local public schools. Every school district in the state of Missouri will benefit. It provides much needed revenue to our universities and our colleges. It saves lives, and it keeps our kids from ever starting to smoke. I encourage you to go to our Facebook page and our Twitter page, as well as our website, which is www.showmeabrighterfuture.com, to learn more. And I really, from the bottom of my heart, want to thank everyone who drove from all across the state of Missouri. Some of these folks joined us on our bus tour to end up here in Jefferson, and I really, really appreciate all of their hard work. And I thank you so much, and I'm happy to take questions one-on-one. Thank you so much, everyone.